Fascism is mass murder.
Who have I ever murdered, Joe? Am I engaging in mass murder?
Fascism is genocide.
Am I committing genocide? Communists, under your leadership, Joe, have become blatant defenders of the status quo.
Some have spoken of the American century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be and must be the century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is just a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few.
We now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
We need a government of action.
Another video by a liberal who is just as dumb as Rachel Maddow, if not dumber. But this liberal pretends to be a communist. And, you know, I want to talk about this because this video is like a confession. This video is like a confession tape. If I was in the Communist Party USA, I would be calling up the national office and saying, take this video down, because this video is a complete confession that everything that they have ever said about me and their relentless campaign against me is a lie. That's what this video is, that they admit in this video that their relentless campaign against me is a lie. Folks, this is We Are City Builders, the Center for Political Innovation educational manual. And it contains essays that I wrote, as well as the works of Mao and Marx and Albert Einstein and others. And it actually contains a speech by President Roosevelt at the 1936 Democratic Convention, or in Madison Square Garden. It's also got in it an anti-fascist speech by Henry Wallace, The Century for the Common Man, where he talks about fascism being the devil's own religion of darkness and talks about the evils of Hitler and etc. Now, this book is pretty inclusive. One of the things that we have in here is there's actually a section in this book that glorifies the Black Panthers, right? This is on page 47. We talk about the Black Panthers and their free breakfast program and how great their free breakfast program was, right? You know, and in other parts of the book, you know, we honor the history of Arab socialism. We honor the anti-fascist struggle of the Soviet Union. We talk about the role of the Communist Party. We have a whole section quoting from W.E.B. Du Bois and others about the role of the Soviet Union in fighting racism around the world. You know, here's a picture. We have a picture of W.E.B. Du Bois. W.E.B. Du Bois, the beloved African-American intellectual, meeting with Mao Zedong. You know, what else do we have in here? You know, we got a mural that was painted in the Kansas State Capitol. It's hanging in the Kansas State Capitol, honoring John Brown, the great anti-slavery revolutionary. We got that, you know, and that's just in the first section. And if you continue with the book, right, we go on. We've got other sections here. You know, we've got We've got Franklin Roosevelt, the president who led the United States during the Second World War. We've got his speech in Madison Square Garden in 1936. We've got Henry Wallace's anti-fascist speech, The Century for the Common Man, by Vice President Henry Wallace, right? Real anti-fascist speech. We freedom-loving people are on the march. You know, what does he say here? He says, Herr Tyson, the wealthy German steel man, little realized what he was doing when he gave Hitler enough money to enable him to play on the minds of the German people. The demagogue is the curse of the modern world, and all the demagogues, the worst, are those financed by well-meaning, wealthy men who sincerely believe that their wealth is likely to be safer if they can hire men with political it to change it, the signpost to lure people back into slavery. I mean, this is, you know, through the leaders of the Nazi revolution, Satan is now trying to lead the common man of the whole world back into slavery and darkness. For the stark truth is that the violence preached by the Nazis is the devil's own religion of darkness. So is the doctrine that one race or one class is hereditary superior to all other races and classes are supposed to be slaves. The belief in one Satan-inspired Führer. I mean, this is a pretty anti-fascist speech. And this book is pretty anti-fascist, right? It's pretty anti-fascist, pretty thoroughly anti-fascist. It quotes the Black Panthers, quotes leaders of the Communist Party. It quotes the Vice President of the United States, who was anti-fascist, Henry Wallace. It quotes anti-fascist leaders from around the world, W.E.B. Du Bois. However, you will find an article on the Communist Party website that quotes from this book and tries to convince people that this is a white supremacist book. Seriously, this is what the Communist Party does. An article by Chris Butters that quotes this book and ignores all of the anti-fascism and all the anti-racism, all the quotes from the Black Panthers, all the anti-fascist stuff from Henry Wall, all of that, and insists that somehow, because this book has something that sounds like a Russian intellectual who's not a fascist, somehow this book is a Nazi propaganda book. That is what they did on their website. And they claim that despite all of the anti-racism, despite all the anti-fascism, glorification of democratic struggles, despite all of that, that this is a Nazi book. The position of the Communist Party USA, according to an article on their website, not in People's Weekly World, their newspaper, on their website, written by Chris Butters, this book that I just showed you, all of those anti-fascist sections of it, all the anti-racist stuff in it, according to them, this is a Nazi book. This is a fascist book. Right? That's their position. It is on their website. And so their position, keep in mind, is that this is a Nazi book. This is a fascist book. And so based on that, we've now got a video from their leader, Joe Sims, explaining to us what fascism is. So according to the Communist Party, the definition of fascism is this book, and take it away, Joe.
Fascism is mass murder.
Who have I ever murdered, Joe? Am I engaging in mass murder?
Fascism is genocide.
Am I committing genocide?
Fascism is organized industrial torture, you know.
Organized industrial torture. This book advocates organized industrial torture?
On a broad scale. Fascism is the concentration camps. Fascism was the disappeared in Argentina. Remember that? Thousands of people murdered by the military junta. Fascism is what happened in that stadium in Chile when hundreds were massacred. And after that, they took the communists and the socialists and the Democrats, the revolutionary Democrats with a small d. And I'm one of them, by the way, a revolutionary working class Democrat. And they threw them out the windows. That's what fascism is. Fascism is going back to your home country and looking for your family and your cousins and your nephews and second cousins, third cousins, gone.
Yeah, fascism is all of those things, Joe. It is all of those things. And none of those things have anything to do with me. And in fact, a lot of those things you just mentioned, like the coup in Chile, like the coup and the military juntas in Argentina that disappeared people, the people protesting against it were people who questioned mainstream media, you fucking idiot. And the people who opposed it were people who were sympathetic to Russia, you fucking idiot. The people who blindly support mainstream media and repeat anti-Russian lies, the people who say that Stalin was worse than Hitler, they were the people who supported it, you fucking idiot. It was communists, sympathizers with the Soviet Union, sympathizers with Cuba, sympathizers with Venezuela. They were the ones who were being persecuted. The kind of people that you now call fascists and Nazis.
Murdered in the gas chambers. That's what fascism is.
That's what fascism is. So tell me, how is this book How does this book that is supporting the history of anti-racist struggles in America, that is opposing the drive toward war and degrowth, that is sticking up for the rights of working people, that is upholding the legacy of the Black Panthers, how is this book everything that you just said, you fucking lying piece of shit?
And by the way, some people are saying that the Democrats are soft fascists.
The Democrats are soft fascists. I haven't heard that one, but continue, Joe. So some people are saying the Democrats are soft fascists. I want to hear where this goes. Continue. I'm interested to hear where this goes.
Contradiction in terms. You know, fascism is hard. Fascism is not covert. It's open.
Ooh, wait. Fascism is not covert. It's open. So does that mean that fascism isn't if you dissect someone's book and find a bunch of secret code words and understand that they sat next to somebody who once talked to somebody who once wrote something, that they're so fascism isn't covert. So there's no secret hand signs. So there is no secret code. So there's not some secret sinister plot where you have to read things. Fascism is not covert. It's not covert. So people who disagree with you in supporting the Democrats are not covertly fascists. Your whole definition of fascism. Fascism is genocide, mass murder, industrial torture. Fascism is this thing that all these U.S.-aligned regimes did, and that people that you would now label conspiracy theorists for questioning U.S. foreign policy opposed, and that people, aligned with Russia opposed. That fascism is all these things done by regimes backed by the United States and covered up for by American media. And now on top of that, it's not covert. So there's not a secret handshake, secret dog whistle, secret conspiracy. It's not covert. It's blatant. Okay, continue, Joe.
And when those Nazis marched in Charlottesville talking about they will not replace us, think about what's behind that.
Well, I'll tell you what's behind that concept. What's behind that concept, Joe, is the fact that millions of working people, Black, white, Arab, Asian, Latino, are dying right now. The death rate in the United States is rising. The birth rate is decreasing. Living standards are dropping. And communists should be the ones saying that is caused by capitalism and that racial divisions and the effort to incite white people against Black people, to scapegoat the immigrants, this is a plot from the capitalists. And it's our job to be saying that this sense that millions of working people of many different races and nationalities have, that they are being wiped out, that the drive and the desire of capitalism is to eliminate them, is to not give them a job, not give them a future, destroy their communities. We should be the ones telling those working people that the problem is capitalism. That's our job. And they're saying fascist slogans about great replacement because you aren't doing your job, Joe. That's why people are rallying around those fascist slogans. You're not doing your job. You're making the status quo that is making them feel attacked and destroying their lives and destroying their communities and killing their relatives with opioids and sending their relatives to prison and driving down their living standards. You're making that status quo that they hate, Joe Biden's America, you're making that synonymous with communism. So of course they hate communism. So of course they're going to take leadership from far-right forces. If we don't rally the working class to fight for their own interests, somebody else will. And you are the one making sure that working class people that feel like they're under attack, that feel like their communities and their neighborhoods are under attack, don't get class-conscious, anti-racist, anti-imperialist leadership. You are the one who has made sure that fascist forces hijack the anger of the working class. You are the best friend those fascists ever had. The reason that they're chanting about replacement is because communists didn't go to them and tell them that the problem is capitalism. Communists defend the anti-Russian hysteria. Communists support tech censorship and social media and silencing dissident voices. Communists tell people that conspiracy theories and questioning the government is unacceptable. Communists, under your leadership, Joe, have become blatant defenders of the status quo. They've become nothing but blind supporters of the status quo. So, of course, in such a context, people are looking for guidance from other leadership. That's you. That's on you, Joe. That's on you. Those people that are rallying around racists should be rallying around anti-racists. They should be fighting for their communities, fighting for the working class and their communities, fighting against the big banks and corporations in the name of Marxism and an anti-racist coalition. But you've decided that's not allowed. You've decided that being a communist just means you're a blind defender of Joe Biden's America. So of course, those who are angry at the status quo, those who are angry at the system are going to take leadership from other forces. That's your doing, Joe. That's all you.
Concept, murder, genocide, concentration camps, No, we
kind of like the forces in Ukraine, that Russia is fighting against. Are they like tying people to poles? Are they burning down World War II memorials? Are they glorifying Nazi leaders in the past? Is that what they're doing? Is that what they're doing? Is that what they're doing? Well, there's that. That's true, David. That is very, very true. Good to talk to you, David. Good to see you out in Australia. Yeah. It seems like these Nazis that you're upset about, Joe, are doing all the things that the Nazis in Ukraine are also doing. And your newspaper, People's World, published an article saying that Russia was the main threat, not NATO, not the Nazis.
A friend of mine from Portugal, from the Communist Party of Portugal, the other day, after the victory of Lula, he said, "Thank you. We dodged a bullet. Never underestimate the fascist danger."
Yeah. Well, you should ask your friend from the Communist Party of Portugal, Joe. You should ask him if Donald Trump's America, where people criticized Donald Trump nonstop on television, where there were constant Donald Trump, anti-Trump protests in the street, where opposing Donald Trump was the latest trendy liberal cause that everyone was doing it, where the mainstream media was constantly rallying against Donald Trump, where Donald Trump was being accused of being a traitor because he worked for the Russians. You should ask your Portuguese friend who's actually lived under fascism if that's what it was like under fascism in Portugal, where people constantly calling the fascist government, constantly calling it a treasonous regime loyal to the Russians, where people constantly rallying and protesting against the fascist regime, where was the whole establishment united in opposing the fascist regime. I mean, come on. Yeah, never underestimate the fascist threat. Yeah, never underestimate the fascist threat. You, Joe Sims, are the best friend the fascist threat ever had. As conditions get worse in America, working people are going to want to resist and fight back. And because the Communist Party has worked overtime to make sure that leftism is synonymous with defense of the status quo, to make sure that anyone who questions U.S. foreign policy is labeled a Nazi or a white supremacist, to make sure that any populism or appeal to the broad masses of working people on the basis of solidarity rather than privilege politics and degrowth, to make sure that people who want to see economic growth in their communities and don't want to be degrown to deal with climate change, to make sure that people that are angry about the police state and tech censorship, to make sure they don't feel welcome on the left, to make sure that the left is nothing but a blind defense of the sinister fascists in the status quo who want to drive down living standards, want to set up a degrowth authoritarian state to keep their power, by making Marxism and socialism the only antidote to the downward spiral of capitalism in our time, by making that synonymous with Marxism, by making Marxism synonymous with this horrendous status quo. You are the best friends. You are the best friends that fascists ever had. I mean, this guy, seriously, he really needs to read Fascism and Social Revolution by R. Palm Dudd. But I continue.